Hello and welcome, Summer Showdown fans. I'm your host, King05, and today I'm bringing you my round 2 matchup against RecklessBat. So yeah, let's get right into the matchup and the team. So my team, we did some transactions in between, and I picked up Greninja and Kyurem. So I got two very heavy hitters, and basically I dropped Xatu, Poliwrath, and Vanillix to be able to pick up these two. I still have the Grottle, which of course I didn't bring this game because, like, what does it really do? I mean, I could have brought it to check the Lycanroc Dusk, but I have other things for that. Anyways, so yeah, so I did end up dropping the Ice Cream, the Poliwrath, and the Xatu. I dropped the Xatu because I was looking at matchups, and there's only really like one or two decent matchups for Xatu in the round 2 gold pool. And it's kind of ironic that I got one of the better matchups for Xatu in this game if I didn't drop it, but you know, this was randomized, so I couldn't exactly C-team or anything. And Xatu is generally bad versus most things, so I decided to drop it to free up more points for Kyurem. I already got Greninja by just being able to afford it regularly. And so yeah, I only have 7 Mons for this round, but that's perfectly fine. We have some solid ones. Anyways, let's get into the team I decided to build versus Bat. So first off, I have my Metronome Greninja. I just have dual stack, which is enough to really damage anything outside the Tangrowth, and even then Dark Pulse does a decent amount with like hazard damage, which of course I have Rocks on my Registeel and I have Spikes on my Greninja. And if he has Tangrowth, that's a super easy switch in, and in return that's a super easy Spikes into U-turn for me. And I do have switch-ins to the Tangrowth, so it's not the end of the world to let that thing come in for free, which is why I have this type of Greninja set. And if he does like end up sacking Tangrowth, then if you look at his team, I can just click Surf a bunch of times, get the Metronome up, which means I'll be able to 2-hit KO things like Berry, Muck eventually. Bronzong is not going to be able to do anything back to me, and I do have the Dark Pulse anyway, so that's not really a Gren check. The Lycanroc can't really kill me without like an SD and like Life Orb Accelerock, so yeah, I'm definitely expecting a Seed move on that thing as well, so that's an unlikely tech for him to have. Dragonair, I guess, could check Greninja with a specially defensive set, but again, that's free Spikes, because Dragonair has like 0 offensive presence, so I can just get up Spikes, U-turn out, etc. So yeah, this Gren, definitely going to put in a lot of work this game. Next up is my Kyurem, which is going to be Sub-Roost leftovers with quite a lot of speed. What's the speed for? The speed is for things creeping my Rotom Heat, if I remember correctly. Because if his Rotom is like a fast Rotom, he's going to be creeping my own Rotom, so I'm going to be creeping that creep with my creep, if that makes sense. Anyways, Ice Beam and Shadow Ball hits most of his team. Shadow Ball or Earth Power was the main decision to make on this set. I went for Shadow Ball to give me a way of checking the Bronzong, as if it is Gyro Ball, I can sub down and pressure stall that. With leftovers, I can end up behind a sub versus Bronzong if he has the Gyro Ball over like an Iron Head or the Sine Wave, like if he's Gyro Ball Toxic, which I feel is a pretty decent set versus me, along with Earthquake to chip down the Registeel, along with Stealth Rocks. I think that's going to be the most likely set for the Bronzong, and this Kyurem is going to be able to beat that 1v1, thanks to the sub pressure and all that Shadow Ball. Earth Power would have been nice for the Muck, but again, I felt like having something to damage the Bronzong was a little bit more valuable in this matchup. And Sub-Roost pressure just does what Sub-Roost does. I can sum up on a lot of his Pokemon, including things like the Quagsire, the Rotom, the Tangrowth. Golbat not really, because he has Infiltrator. You could like Toxic me, which would be pretty lame, but I don't know what his Golbat set's going to be. And Dragonair, Dragon Tail does break my sub, so I can't sub on that. Anyways, next up is my Registeel, which is going to be Max Fizdef. This is going to be my main check to the Lycanroc, which otherwise is a pretty big threat to me. So this thing can switch in reliably. Drill Run is going to do about the high 30s to low 40s to me, and that's like comfortable. Like I can take those, get leftovers, I'll probably, over the course of the game, be able to take 3 if I need to, thanks to leftovers. And Iron Head is going to do about 75 to Lycanroc, so if I'm able to Iron Head him after Hazard, say Rocks and a Spike, he will go down. So that's pretty nice. I also have the Curse, which allows me to muscle my way through the Bronzong and the Alolan Muck. And I have Toxic for the Quagsire and Tangrowth. So this Registeel kind of deals with everything on its own, if given the chance. Like the main check would be like a Quagsire, because I can't really 1v1 that. I can't stay in on Earthquakes, for example, because it'll ignore my Curse boosts, and just Earthquakes seem to be doing a lot. But everything else I can pretty reasonably take on with my Registeel, without much help. Again, I don't really want, well, not again, but as a side note, I don't really want to let this get knocked off by the Tangrowth, because leftovers is super valuable on this thing. The same thing with Muck, if I can help it, I don't want to get knocked off. Just leftovers is super nice on this thing for passive recovery to help me check the Lycanroc, that sort of stuff. Next up is the Broken Venomoth. This can be Chardy Berry this week, because the Lycanroc is his main way of revenging this thing. So being able to eat up the Accelerock, it only does about 40 to me, along with like a lot of HP investment because I don't need a lot of speed, since his fastest mod is the Lycanroc itself, and if I'm only aiming to outspeed that at +1, then I don't need much more speed than 68. Along with like if he is another Scarfer, it's probably going to be Scarf Rotom, which can't touch Venomoth anyways after Quiver Dance, so yeah, that's why I have Chardy Berry. I have Giga Drain for the Quagsire, which is pretty nice, and then Bug Buzz just kind of hits everything else, apart from Golbat, but Venomoth can't really beat Golbat anyways, so I need to get that out of the way before attempting the sweep, regardless. So that's the Venomoth set. Next up is my Rotom Heat, which is going to be a fairly bulky set, because again, his team is pretty slow outside of the Lycanroc. I can take on the Rotom regardless of if it outspeeds me or not. Same thing with like the Golbat, however I do really want to outspeed that if I can, so that's why I'm running 48 speed, is to outspeed the Golbat if it's running like only 4 in speed. So yeah, the rest of it is just thrown into special attack with a modest nature to hit as hard as possible, and HP to be as bulky as possible. This is my Defogger, since I do have 3 Stealth Rock weeks, and he can pretty reliably get them up with Bronzong. So I do want a Defogger that can beat Bronzong 1v1, which is going to be my Rotom Heat. Pretty simple set. HP Grass is for the Quagsire, obviously. This set cannot beat Dragonite or Dragonair, but that's fine with me. Again, it has no offensive presence versus my team. I can just Volt out, collect hazard damage versus things, that sort of thing. And last but not least is my Rock Polish Life Orb Golurk. I can use this thing in 2 different ways in the game. I can either go for it as a win condition with Rock Polish, or I can just use it to break with Life Orb Earthquake, Life Orb Shadow Punch, and Ice Punch with the Iron Fist boost. This thing is a huge threat to his team. After like a Spike, it KOs Quagsire after leftovers. Just insane stuff like that. Shadow Punch is able to knock out Bronzong from about 90. So if it takes any sort of chip, Shadow Punch is going to be a guaranteed knockout on that thing. And that's his main, those are his 2 main ground immunities. Golbat and Tangrowth get hit very hard by the Iron Fist Life or Ice Punch. So yeah, with the Adamant Golurk, it's going to be a pretty big threat to him. And if I do Rock Polish, this thing doesn't run into the same issue with Venomoth, as like, I resist the SL Rock, so I can definitely eat that up. And like Scarf Rotom would be able to revenge me, but I don't think he would really be Scarf Rotom, as that's kind of like, I guess he could be. But anyways, let's get right into the replay, which is going to be here. As you can see, he did not bring the Tangrowth, so that's the first thing I noticed. Another thing, he did not bring the, what was it? I was literally just talking about it. the Rotom, yeah. So, he didn't bring either of those things, which means my Golurk is a huge threat to him, as those were like 2 main things that he can use to check Golurk. So with those out of the way, like turn 0, Golurk is a huge threat. Let's see, without the Tangrowth, Greninja is super nice. The Kyurem doesn't have that like setup opportunity for the substitute on the Tangrowth anymore, but it's still a very valuable member. I don't have to deal with the knockoffs from Tangrowth nor the regen, so that's just super nice for me. Anyways, here I'm just going to lead off with my Greninja because his only like hazard removal is the Golbat, which kind of gets pressured really hard by a Kyurem switch in, as his like ice resist is a Bronzong, which to be fair is a good switch in to my Kyurem, but I do have Shadow Ball, as well as I have Defog Rotom if he wants to get rocks that I want to defog, or I can trade rocks with my Registeel. So overall, Greninja's a great lead to get up spikes as early as possible. But he does lead off with the Muck, and so I don't want to take a Poison Jab, and I don't switch in too well to this thing, so I'm just going to U-turn and keep my Greninja at full health going to my Rotom Heat, as he goes for knockoff and feels to either have very little or no attack investment. Here I'm just going to go for the Volt Switch because no one really goes into their Quagsire hard turn 1, well, I guess it would be turn 2 when you have a Dragonair, which from the looks of it is specifically brought for the Rotom Heat and the Greninja. So yeah, I just Volt Switch out into my Registeel and I'm able to get them up here. And he goes into his Bronzong to trade rocks, which is perfectly fair, but this does give me a free switch into Greninja and a free spike on the Dragonair, which again is his designated switch into this thing. Since he didn't bring Tangrowth, he has to have some kind of switch in, and it's going to be this. So I do get up the spike for free as he's forced out by the potential Dark Pulse. And now I can just U-turn out, revealing that this thing is max HP and likely max def. He goes for the Dragon Tail on my Registeel, which brings back my Greninja, but again I can just U-turn out. As he goes out into his Golbat, I'm not really sure why, but I guess I get it, because this thing from the damage revealed to be specially defensive, because that only did 3. And most of my mobs either give him the defog or are walled, which I guess also gives him the defog. But Kyurem is going to come out in here, reveal the leftovers, so he knows I'm not Specs. And I'm just going to go for the Ice Beam, because if he stays in, he can defog away the hazards, but I still get huge damage on the Golbat, which opens up my Venomoth. So that's a pretty nice trade for me to trade hazards, as well as I don't really want rocks up on my side if I can help it, and getting up spikes and rocks is incredibly easy for my team to do. And yeah, so I can always have 2 hazards up versus him, but he decides to go for Taunt for some reason. I really have no idea why, but I'm just going to take that, as now he has no defogger, because he either dies here or switches on to Bronzong, and his only defogger being Golbat dies to rocks. So I'm free to get up extra spikes if I want to with my Greninja later, and they will be up for good. Anyways, he goes into the Bronzong. I'm going to switch out here to my Rotom because it's relatively free, and I can throw off an Overheat pretty freely. Do I Volt Switch though, is the question. No, I go for the HP Grasp, trying to catch the Quagsire, because, you know, if he wanted to go into that to prevent hazard damage racking up on his Dragonair, he could definitely make that play. However, he goes into Dragonair, and I Volt Switch out on that thing, bringing my Greninja, because if he wants to rest, which I figured this might be Rest Talk, Dragon Tail, and like another move, turns out to be Waterfall. Not really sure why it's Waterfall, but okay. Maybe for my Golurk, but Dragon Tail deals with that anyways. I don't know. I bring my Greninja here, predicting the rest to get up more spikes. However, he just goes for the Waterfall, which allows me to click Dark Pulse for a KO pretty much. And now he's going to go back out into his Muck. And here we're actually going to reveal that he is the Iapapa Berry Muck. And it looks to be specially defensive because U-turn is doing just max HP damage, no real defense investment, or at least very little. And the knockoff is doing lower damage to my Pokemon, so it's likely to just be specially defensive Muck with the Recycle. He just knocks out my Rotom as I sack it to the Poison Jab. Now here I go into my Golurk, because Earthquake is very free here. He either sacks his Golbat to rocks, which again is a sack, so he doesn't have that anymore. He can go into his Bronzong, which after rocks and leftovers will be in range of my Shadow Punch, or he can go into Quag, thinking that it walls me, but I am Adamant Life Orb, so I will be able to 2-hit KO that after hazards. Sacking Muck is never the play, so I contemplated rock polishing up on the Golbat sack, but I figured Earthquake was overall the best play, so that's what I went for, as he goes on to Quagsire here. And now, I am just going to go into my Venomoth, because I really thought he was going to go for a Toxic here, as that covered my Kyurem switch in, which is a pretty big threat to him. However, he just goes for the Earthquake, which is a fair play as well. And I'm just going to go for the Giga Drain, because if he doesn't expect me to have that, then he can be just like, oh, I without any hit, let me just knock out this Venomoth with another Earthquake. He can't roost off the damage, but yeah, he goes into his Muck as I roost, because given that this thing has very low attack investment, he can't actually beat me with knockoffs once I lose my item, in which case he'll be forced at some point to go into Lycanroc to revenge me. And here I'm just going to Quiver Dance up, because knockoff is not going to kill me and I can roost off the next one. But here he's going to reveal the Shadow Sneak, and it actually knocks me out, which was a roll if... It was likely a roll heavily in my favor, but regardless, we do go down there, and now I'm going to go on my Golurk to claim another one with the Earthquake, as he has no real switch in. Bronzong, as I said earlier, will go down to the Shadow Punch. I haven't revealed Life Orb at this point, so I'm going to do that now and just blow away this Bronzong. Now here he goes out into his Lycanroc to revenge me, and I live any hit besides Crunch, so I know 100% he has it and he's going for it here. So I go into my Registeel for free. Well, not free, it does decent damage, 20%, feeling he's max attack, but here I can just go for the Iron Head in case he wanted to throw off maybe a Z move, which if he weren't for the Tectonic Rage, I would be able to eat that up. It only does like 50 to 60 to my Registeel. So I just went for Iron Head there. I get leftovers anyways, and now figuring he was likely to recover if he does stay in, I'm just going to Toxic the Quagsire, as he does make a nice play, Earthquakes me. So now my Registeel is pretty weakened, however I'm still out of range of the Lycanroc's Drill Run, so it is valuable for me to keep it. So I go to my Kyurem as he goes out into the Muck and gets the Berry, so it's pretty nice for him as Kyurem can't really break the Muck. However, he's just going to sack the Quagsire, I guess predicting the Earth Power there, but I don't have it. So I guess it's a fair play in that sense, but now he's going to go out into his Lycanroc, and this is going to be the most whack turn of the game. I'm just going to sack my Kyurem here, because I can then get in my Registeel, go for Iron Head if he goes out into his Muck. Actually, no, if I sack Kyurem here, then I go to my Greninja and click Surf, which should claim one, because after Hazards, Surf with the Metronome boost is going to be able to beat down the Alolan Muck before it beats me, basically. So I sack my Kyurem here. Just kidding. I somehow outspeed the Lycanroc for no apparent reason. I have no idea why you would make Lycanroc slower than a Kyurem, but he did. So yeah, he brings in his Muck, and I just spam Ice Beam for a bit here, fishing for a freeze. If I am able to get that, it would speed up the game. At this point I do have it with my Golurk in the back though. As long as I don't switch it in on a knockoff, I can't lose this game. And yeah. So I just spam Ice Beam here. He goes for Recycles and like Poison Jabs eventually. I don't get the freeze, spoiler alert. He goes for a knockoff here, and does he get the poison? No, he does not, but I just go for more Ice Beams as he recycles up Poison Jabs here and gets the poison, which is fair. It's in his favor to get the poison if he's Poison Touch, which he isn't. I just noticed he's Gluttony. But here, there's no play other than Recycle, so I decided to just go on my Golurk. If he did knock here, that would be pretty bad, but I still have my Kyurem, Ice Beam, plus my Metronome Greninja, which would be able to beat this thing down in combination with each other. So if he knocked off, it could have gone a little sour, but I decided to speed up the game and just go Golurk here, figuring he's going to recycle anyways, and I knock him out with the Earthquake, and that's going to be the game. So yeah, now we go up to round 3, have a bunch of transactions to make. We actually get 4 transactions this time, but we only get to keep a few of them. We have to drop some of them because, you know, points budget and all that. But anyways, that's going to be interesting because this time we actually know who our opponent is going to be, which I think is pretty lame, honestly, because you can just counter draft, and that's far too try-hard for me. I'd rather just like get mons that I like and that fit my draft pretty well, rather than looking at someone, like, for example, I played Jolt in round 3. Spoiler alert, he did win his game. If you didn't watch that already, then oh well. So I do play Jolt, and like, if I wanted to pick up some 14-point mons, which are available now, that like, say I really enjoy, but they match up poorly against Jolt's draft, then I can't exactly in good conscience pick up those Pokemon, even though I would want to use them. And like, it really makes the format really try-hardy when you have to counter draft specific ones. So I really wish it were just you do the transactions and then the matchups are randomized, but that's just me. Anyways, that's gonna be all for the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.